Hello. So in today's video, it is part 2 of my Doki Doki Literature Club redraw. So for this part, it's just basically the rendering of everything else. So for this first bit, I edited past the rendering on the objects because it was pretty basic and simple, and to make this video shorter, I didn't feel like I need to put it in. All I did was I shaded it, and then I added some painterly texture to it. For this first person, since this is the main focus, is me rendering all the actual characters I needed to render was Monica. She has in all of these paintings, generally she has the most detail on her because she's the one who's closest to the front of the camera. I had a problem because I told myself I was going to paint all of this, which I did have fun with it. I'm not gonna say I don't completely regret it, but I had to render Monica's face 2 times, and it was just a pain in the butt. This first time around, it's not bad, but I realized there was something weird and uncanny about it that I couldn't put my finger on, so I ended up changing it. So, even now looking at it, it's very it's too blended and not blended out enough at the same time, and then the skin tone looks very there's no even though there's blush, there's no blood running into the face, which for a style like this is kind of more, I'm going for more realistic. Isn't that fantastic? I do end up going back and fixing it, or I think I already did go back and fix it. I kind of don't know. I go back and I fix it after I do the hair because I was I don't like the face, but I'll stop. And I went to work on the hair because I was getting frustrated with the face, and I wanted to finish Monica in one day. For the hair, I just kind of used strokes and I blended things out, and I did use a braid brush. I rendered over it, and I'm not ashamed of myself because I didn't know how to render braids or draw. I'm really bad at drawing braids. So So once I rendered the hair, I felt like it was a lot easier for me to render the face. I incorporated the shading I wanted actually in it while I was rendering it, which I don't know why I didn't do that the first time around, but now I did, and it looked a lot better. The lips were kind of off, but when I redid the lips, they looked a lot better. I also redid Monica. I gave her makeup because I think for some sort of she'd be trying to draw as much attention to herself as humanly possible, so of course she'd be wearing a really pretty I think it's Chinese makeup that's on TikTok and stuff, trying to draw as much attention to herself as possible in the picture. That's why she's holding the camera. I also, instead of holding the mug, I think I mentioned this because I detest rendering so many mugs, she's doing the little heart thing. I think it's from BTS. I just liked it. I thought it was better than a normal heart hand, and I was oh, it's kind of cute. It's she's making a cute thing for Instagram. And once I was done with Monica, I started to do Sayori. This was the second day of me rendering the people. So for Sayori, I tried to keep the same sort of painterly style. I did get a little bit more loose with it because they are supposed to be farther back, so they don't need as much detail. I still made sure to add color to the lips and stuff. And for the hair, I was having a problem because Monica's hair is a lot darker than Sayori's, which makes it to where it's very hard to... Lighter hair and darker hair when rendering are two completely different animals. On top of that, the shading, I ended up using a lot more reds in Sayori's hair than I really thought I was going to do, because her hair is more of a light peachy pink red than a purpley pink, like Natsuki's hair. For everything else, it was relatively easy. I used a plant brush to render the wreath. I rendered the bow how I always render bows, by making them extra shiny. I made sure to add a sweater texture to the sweater, but make it smaller so that it's not as noticeable and that the texture's farther away in perspective. But other than that, Sayori was actually pretty easy. Other than the hair, she looks really cute, and I'm actually really happy. Actually, I'm generally really happy with how everybody did turn out, because everybody turned out super, super cute. So, and then for Yuri, again, I start out with the skin on all of these because I find it the like easiest to render. So for this, I started with Yuri. I tried copying. I had problems with her because I tried copying what I did with Sayori, but it was the next day, so I didn't quite remember what I did. And I was like, man, why is this not working for me? And so I ended up scrapping and restarting from the beginning, similar with what I ended up doing with Monica. Everything else was quite easy to render. The sweater was quite easy. The mug was quite easy. The hair was also quite easy because it's darker. All you really have to do is add a little bit of darks and some highlights for this sort of like more painterly hair style. I think I did mess up on the mug because I interpreted the sweater cuff being the mug handle, and it, like looking back, which you'll see, but I'm too lazy to go and fix it, so it's not too noticeable unless you point it out, or if you're like me where you look at your artwork and you criticize everything about it. So it's not too terribly noticeable, so it's fine. For this Yuri one, I felt like her face like was too obscured in shadow, and I kept on trying to fix it, but then I was like, wait a minute, isn't her face supposed to be obscured in like shadow because she's like kind of behind the light? And I was like, oh yeah, you're right, Mia. And so I just kept on going. But I didn't want her to look not shaded enough as well, and so I just kept on fooling around until I figured it out. For the sweater, for the cuff and the like collar color, I did change it from being more of a brown red to like an actual like dark red because I think it looked more Christmassy and it looked a little bit nicer. For the hair, I try to make sure to show the fact that it is half up, half down for this drawing, and make sure to keep that consistent. For the highlights, I tried to make sure it stayed as 3D as possible, and then I did add some like kind of like painterly-ish cell shading with some strong highlights to make sure it looked like it was in shadow enough, kind of like what I did with Sayori's hair. For the sweater, dark green, I used the same technique I used for Sayori's, where I just kind of kept on cell shading and blending it out and adding darker areas until it looked three-dimensional, along with the 3D, along with the sweater texture, the knit texture on IBS Paint, for anybody who's really wondering. Also, if you guys want to know what the brush I use for everything is, because this whole painting was basically used with like two brushes, I can share them. If you guys like want me to, I can like post it in my community section, but that's just if the people want it. Oh, and then I should mention, while I'm just kind of rendering Yuri, if you're new here and you like this video and you like my art, you should subscribe. If you're already subscribed, you should like and share. Links are in the description. I have a Discord server. But yeah, more videos like this are to come. I have a bunch of redraws I do around the year. I have an October, December, and May one, and I basically do a redraw every June, every time I draw the pride flag this character. For the rendering, I was really not looking forward to rendering the background, even though it wasn't that hard. I honestly think rendering Monica was more difficult than rendering the background. So the fact that I was so disappointed about it was kind of sad. The worst thing for me to render every year that I always look forward to rendering and then I regret it is the cupcakes. I added a motion blur to Natsuki and the cupcakes to make it look more memey and like shocked and like to like she's actually like jumping in fear instead of it just being a still image. My friend told me it looked kind of awkward and like she wasn't meant to be there, and looking back at it, I kind of agree. So I fixed it. But for the general background, I tried to make sure that the wood of the table matched the wood of the windows. I made sure to make sure it looked like it was like glossy and like, you know, like varnished wood. For the background, I added the string lights. I added a glass texture to the window. I added a chromatic aberration and a glitch chromatic aberration to Monica because But yeah, that's all I did for the background. I actually really like it. It's not too crazy, but I think there's just enough amount of stuff going on that it actually looks nice. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. It's really cute. Like, really, really cute and really pretty. And I really like how particularly Sayori came out. And and Yuri, because they're not super in detail, but they do look detailed enough to be like far away, and I really like the fact that I was able to like capture that, because usually I'm very bad at capturing that unless it's something like ridiculously far. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching if you've finished this whole video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.